extraction. And the alcohol's being made right here in Maine.
All right on.
But
Well, I agree somewhat with King, but as far as efficiency and bulk, I know that hydrocarbon extraction really allows for that full extraction of the plant oil in a safe manner, done in a safe fashion. As far as efficiency and teaching somebody how to extract for themselves and how to save them lives, save their own lives, say with a quarter ounce of cannabis at a time, there's nothing like ethanol extraction. It's readily available, like King was saying, in this state for sale. So I can direct a patient in growing their own cannabis and supplying themselves with their own medicine in that fashion. As far as processing on a larger scale, the larger hydrocarbon extraction process and also the larger ethanol extraction process are extremely efficient. And as we explore that, as we open this up, as we learn more about the process and are allowed to talk amongst ourselves about what we do, we'll be able to refine all of that into a finer science. And that's what's happening here right now. I know from making water solventless hash to now where we are with hydrocarbons, we've come a long way in the last 5 years. I expect 5 years from now we'll be a lot further away from where we're at now.
I feel like
Yes.
King's method is definitely, ethanol. I think everybody that's doing hydrocarbons should really be running ethanol setup, and you can use a lot of your waste. We use a lot of, lower end materials, clean it up, and it's still a viable medicine for patients. So,
Oh, and I've smoked those cartridges. They're good.
I agree with that. I definitely see.
Ethanol is not a bad extraction solvent, and by all means. As far as efficiency goes, I think that you could just get a lot more done with hydrocarbons. I think the best way to learn extraction, absolutely, hand down, would be Maine-made, ethanol.
Starting with 200 proof ethanol. Huh?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Wow.
It actually pulls everything out. I mean, it's really a good. It's a great method. And it's good for cleaning up a lot of the garbage material that's running around right now, because we are in Maine, and every caregiver, our people are learning how to do this, and there's people that like my medicine that's coming out of my own,
Get closer.
But definitely it's a great way to clean everything up. It's where we're going. I mean, we have two different directions that we're going to go, and the way that the laws are going to be going, it's an awesome thing. You're going to get way more. It might be stripping a lot of the terpenes, but it's also stripping a lot of the molds and stuff like that. People want baseline medicines, Delta 9, Delta 8, and all that, and it's really a good thing. But of course, the question was, what was my preferred method, and it's. Yeah.
For economic ability was the first question. And it actually leads me into the second question, which we were kind of cackling about earlier. But what is your least favorite mainstream method that's widely accepted?
Acetone and naphtha.
Yeah, that's not available in shops, though. For me, I'd say CO2. I don't like CO2.
You'd be surprised, a lot of these guys run RSO with naphtha. ISO's a really bad one, too.
Even as a cleaning agent.
Yep.
But I mean,
super sticky. It bonds to everything.
A lot of these places, they'll test everything that they have. So if it doesn't pass, basic testing standards, they won't have it. So, CO2 will pass all these basic testing standards, but still it's hot dog water that doesn't taste like anything because the extraction method destroys all the terpenes. And unless you have $250,000 to press a button.
I feel like the products that are going into a lot of the CO2 extraction.
Well, it's super inefficient. Yeah, it's super inefficient too. $250,000 gets you, less than a pound of material to run every couple of hours. How could you make money or
and that's setting aside all the pressures that you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's aside from the dangerous, 1,500 psi pressures. I mean, realistically, I don't see air compressors running at those pressures. That's kind of scary. That's a pipe bomb.
Yeah.
And how about you, King? What do you think? What's your least favorite method of extraction that's widely available to the mainstream public?
I'm not a real big fan of heavy metals.
understand it using BHO. I mean, I personally don't smoke it, right? Just because I don't like the physical effect from it. I don't feel safe operating hydrocarbon lab. I mean, as much as people would disagree, I smoke in my ethanol lab all day. So I feel much safer working with ethanol than I do anything else.
Safe extraction methods. That's not safe extraction.
No, man, smoking around evaporating solvent is not safe for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't smoke in the lab, no matter what.
Right. Always wear gloves. Okay.
Yeah,
And that'll lead me into another one. This is just leading me into the next one. How about dangerous methods commonly used? I'll throw an easy one out there for you guys. Do not open blast in your kitchen and heat purge and think that you have clean medicine, because you don't. You have poison. Okay. Don't come into this, wearing a sweater, thinking that you're going to know nothing about the plant and you're going to be a CBD baron and you're going to make millions of dollars. It doesn't work that way. Sorry. So dangerous methods commonly used. For me, open blasting. That's Glenn, what do you think?
Open air evaporation of alcohol inside, that's a no-no. I know that the alcohol will condense down at the floor level where your pets are and so forth. You may not smell it where you're at nose level, but what's going to happen is it's going to condense and, and you can have a little problem there. That's really dangerous when you're doing that. But there's a safe way that you can do small extraction, evaporation, open air extraction outside using a induction burner with an induction pan, 2 frying pans, and a little bit of 190 proof grain alcohol in a mason jar, and you're making yourself a basic fully extracted cannabis oil that can save your life. But what the question was,
what not to do is the question.
The way not to do it is use bad things like naphtha, isopropyl alcohol, things that are left behind, open blasting. That's horrible. There's things that solvents in the cans used to propel the solvent from the can. So the can doesn't blow up in your hand. That would be left behind in an open blast system. So there's a lot of things that you got to take into consideration when you're looking at all of these different types of extractions. And for me, safety is one of them, or the biggest thing. And exploring what not to do is a big part of learning what to do safely.
Ting, what do you think?
In regards to what?
The question was
Smoking
things.
in my
Things.
lab?
No, not smoking in your lab. Things not to do. Not to don't open blast. What would you advise people not to do that they commonly do at home? Right.
Don't smoke in the lab.
Don't smoke in your lab.
A lot of my heavy washing, if I'm doing a really big run and I'm dealing with 10, 20, 30 pounds, I do all my washing, all my filter, and I do it outside. I've got an open roof building that I do that in. When I'm inside the building, I'm inside the lab. I've got everything in a sealed container, whether it's my collection container or it's what I'm going to fill my rubber back with. Those are always sealed, so I keep a limited risk when it comes to the ethanol.
Is there any area that handle gas when you fill your lawnmower?
You got to put that to your mouth, man.
Is it any scarier than filling your lawnmower with gas when you're handling the alcohol in the extraction process?
Yeah, I think filling the mower is probably has more liability to it. Filling a hot mower with a can of gas. Yeah.
So common sense comes in handy.
Yeah, use common sense. Joey, what do you think? If you were telling a young guy that's just getting started, what would you tell him not to do? Like mistakes that some of us have made. What would you tell a kid not to do?
I have a couple things to touch on that subject.
Right.
Basically, a big part of it is the quality of the gas you're using. Make sure you're buying quality gas and distilling it. You're not buying massive cases from China off eBay. I mean, realistically, you're going to lose money on that aspect as well. That's a big thing, distilling your gases. Another one that people don't really touch on a lot is, I've been seeing a lot of talk about lately, is like the salmonella storage and handling of material. Live resins, live flowers and stuff. I mean, you really got to cryo back it, keep it on dry ice to get to the processor. I mean, if that even dips below a certain temperature, I mean, you're letting live pathogens to the plant. It's gonna mold. It's gonna build bacteria. I feel like that's a big part of it. A lot of lower end material, and it falls into what's the most cost efficient. It gets blasted in hydrocarbons and processed on and used as food grade edibles that people are putting in their system. And it's a little bit different than smoking it. You're actually digesting it. You're actually putting this live bacteria into your system. I think that's gonna. I mean, you see out west, everybody's got cryo trucks and everything. It's coming, but that's a big part of it. You see a lot of live residents, and I don't think the material's handled properly. I mean, I can open a jar and tell you straight off and you can smell it. But I think that's a big part people don't focus on.
As testing gets more extensive, like goes into parts per billion, we're going to start picking up some of the stuff that's been missed in a lot of the testing. The more, I mean, at the cups already, everybody's failing. These cannabis cups for one thing or another, and it's just something else.
You got to work with your grower and both get on the same page and work with however what you're doing. As things move on as far as contracting opens back up and whatnot, work with the people you work with. And you got to handle your material properly. That's why in-house is always the best. Obviously it's right there. You can go the steps, follow through right in a row. There's no transport. There's no in between time.
Brian, what do you think, bro? Nah, not all day.
I mean, alongside with open blasting and stuff, what about like open ethanol, like using a rice cooker to make your RSO? I mean,
indoors, sure. Alcohol vapor is really
without proper ventilation.
Yeah, it's super important to have a fan blowing over that because ethanol just sits there. It just literally sits there.
We gotta get these microphones for you guys.
I mean, I see that alongside with open blasting. Just you have an open bomb right in front of you. You got really bad shit bad stuff that you shouldn't be ingesting. I mean, just like I shouldn't be breathing in butane. I mean, like, how many people, whenever you've opened up your catch chambers and have air, the leftover butane just kind of and get light? Have you ever gotten lightheaded? I mean, it's just as bad.
Yep. So stuff in the cans. Cantane is gross. Any of us with closed loops that ran out of good butane and had to distill our own butane out of cans, we gather up all the garbage that the open blasters smoke in our catch pots. We've all seen it. Mark, what do you think? What was it? What not to do?
I'm going to touch on the whole quality of your starting material.
Take that microphone and flip it over and put it right in front of your mouth.
There we go. I'm going to touch on the quality of material. It's super important that you use quality material, stuff that's not full of pesticides. Work with your growers. Your pesticides become anhydrous mixtures with your solvents, and you reuse, cross-contaminate all your solvents because of it. It's super important to start with clean solvent, clean material. Like, that's really big. Also, simple common sense. Don't inhale, butane. Don't put your face or smoke over open ethanol. Pressure relief valves are important. Use pressure relief valves on your CLS systems. Otherwise, you have pipe bombs. CO2. When you're using dry ice, and you guys are doing it in a sealed room, you guys are killing yourselves. You're suffocating. You're just dissipating all the oxygen out of the room, which isn't, a bad thing in case of explosions, but, you can't breathe. So, just use common sense.
Yep. That's one I didn't really think about, the dry ice there. Wow. So, as far as craft versus bulk goes, there's always the argument of quality versus quantity and that kind of thing, and as big money comes in here, which they have already, they're going to be more concerned with how much they can produce and at just a passable quality. So how do we keep the craft market alive, and some of the more exotics that don't yield as well, for some of these full melt sieves or full melt bubbles that aren't efficient to make, they are expensive, but that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's craft. How do we combat Walmart? How do we stop extractors